13th, 2023. Can I get approval of the agenda? Recommendation that the District of Sycamoose Committee of the Whole meeting agenda for December the 13th, 2023 be approved as circulated. Councillor Evans, Councillor Bushel, all in favor. Thank you. Ian and yeah, because you can put your hand up. Never mind. Recommendation of the minutes of the District of Sycamoose Committee of the Whole meeting held on November the 22nd, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Evans, Councillor Rich, all in favor. Thanks. Okay, we've got a delegation. We've got a housing or Zach Ireland and Jim Berry are online with one of our strategic priorities, which was provide land for the development of a sustainable housing or housing project within the community. Kelly, you want to start?
Yes, most definitely. Okay, so just a little refresher. I've got Jim and Zach online who can just talk about kind of the proposal that they've settled on. Just to give everybody a reminder is that we prepared an expression of an interest and it was issued June 26th, 2023 to solicit proposals from qualified housing developers and builders interested in leveraging district-owned property to be used for the development of a mixed-use rental housing commercial project. The EOI closed August 21st, 2023, and we had 4 submissions. We formed an evaluations committee and we met August 24th. And what we evaluated the submissions on were developer qualifications, operational management qualifications, project-specific deliverables in terms of meeting housing mix and maximizing the use of the development site, ability to meet and manage the project schedule, experience partnering with other local governments, and track record in the use of public funds or other public resources. Based on the above qualifications, the evaluations committee shortlisted the submissions to 2, of which WCPG was one of them. Then the proponents came and presented in front of council, and on October 4th, council awarded the expression of interest to WCPG Construction Limited and further directed staff to start the discussions with WCB related to key details that would form part of a final agreement. Since then, no agreement has been determined. However, WCPG has been determining what mix works in terms of their ability to, cover their costs. So they are online today to speak to what they are proposing for that site, and then we are able to ask any questions that we have.
Excellent. Okay, so they're ready to take it away. Zach, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, I think you're muted, but I'll take it from here. Yeah, thanks everybody for having us today. I don't know, Kelly, can we pull up the schematic proposal that we had submitted up on the screen there for everybody, or is there?
Yeah.
Does everyone have printed copies? Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. So the general form of our submission here today is roughly similar to what was submitted back in August, as Kelly said. Everything we have here is totally bylaw compliant. We're not asking for any variances from zoning or anything like that. And what we've done in terms of what is on the screen here is a 5-story apartment building totaling approximately 46,000 square feet with 55 residential units. And the breakdown that we've come to here is about 50-50, favoring 2 bedrooms slightly, 26 1-bedroom units, 29 2-bedroom units. The 1-bedroom units averaging about 575 square feet. Yeah, as you can see on the screen there, 2 bedrooms at 760 square feet. And then the 3,900 square feet of commercial space is unchanged, fronting Main Street there. The differences in terms of what we have right now versus what was submitted in the summertime, we've elected to remove the townhomes at the back in favor for more parking, as well as some standalone single car garages available for rent. And then we've also added storage lockers as well. The other deviation is that back in the summertime, the apartment building was 4 stories. We've added a story onto that to get it to 5 stories. So we're actually proposing more residential units now than we were before, albeit at sort of a different mix, as well as increased parking and the addition of those storage lockers and garages as well. So the method and sort of how we came to this was further market analysis, sort of determining what our costs would be, what our projected revenues would be. And this is sort of where we got to feeling comfortable with where the market's at, specific to Sicamous and sort of BC as a whole. So yeah, this is sort of the proposal we put together here. The purpose of putting this proposal together and presenting it to you today was sort of so that we don't put a whole bunch of time and effort getting architects, engineers, everybody else on board sort of prior to everybody on this call feeling very comfortable with what we're proposing to build on the site. So yeah, and you can see we're scrolling through here some, these are just example floor plans of what we've built in some of our other developments. Similar, albeit slightly larger markets in Mission, Campbell River, Kelowna. So, you know, secondary markets, slightly larger than Sicamous, but just to give you an idea of sort of some of the sample floor plans that we have built in other markets and in some of our other rental buildings. Yeah, so that's sort of the general form of what we're putting together. And then Jim and I are available for any sort of questions and open it up to the floor, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, is there anything that you want to add?
I think, you know, if council has a discussion today, I'm looking for, you know, the committee to agree in principle. And then after this, then I will engage legal. They will engage architects, because we still have to fine tune exactly what incentives we're able and willing to give as it relates to this proposal. But it's more the, you know, 5-story market rental building, and then we'll work on the details of the incentives as well, because I know I've spoken with Jim and Zach as well, and I know that we would like a unit in one of these buildings, so we do need to work out some of the details as well as how we're going to legitimize this deal and make sure that we're, as a municipality, following all the rules that we're legislatively required to under the community charter. So we're doing that dance and making sure that we're on side. But I don't want to proceed and spend a bunch of time and money if council is not on board.
Thank you. Well, this is one of our strategic priorities, adding space to Sicamous. So, and having a developer come in and develop it and property manage it, bringing $15 million in our community, into our community space. I think that I'm definitely wanting to move forward with this. So council, let's open the floor. Councillor Bailey to start.
Yeah, just, I guess, have a couple of questions. Can you give us at least the rent ranges that these units would be going for? I mean, you've said you've done your financial modeling, your revenues. So give us a sense of what we're looking at here, if you can.
Yeah, and these are market rent. These are not low income or below market
Yes.
rent at all. So they are market rent on a 2-bedroom, depending on the size, like those are averages size. So, you know, we have 2-bedroom, the smaller ones as low as 700, some up into the 900 square feet. They will range anywhere from 1,700 to probably 1,900 a month in rent. The 1-bedrooms are typically around 1,200 to 1,400 in rent.
Councillor Bailey, are you?
Yeah, I'll just come back around.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, thanks very much, Jim and Zach, for your presentation. Yeah, I was wondering if you were able to even reach out or have time to reach out on and do any kind of market evaluation or expressive interest of people in the community or the area that are looking for rent. Have you thought about that?
We have made a lot of phone calls trying to figure out, like, we were really struggling with how many units to build. And I'm even a little worried at this that, you know, we might be building too many units. You know, unfortunately, there just isn't a lot of data. So mainly what we've done is a lot of phone calls to property managers, to business owners. We've called kind of everyone we could to try and assess the market. Everybody agrees that there's rental units needed. Unfortunately, I can't get the kind of data I could get in Kelowna or somewhere like that. So this is a little bit of a hope and a prayer in terms of demand for us. But I'm kind of confident when we look at how many people seem to be working in Sicamous or the area and living in Salmon Arm. I think there may be even some rentals for people that during the winter months that are working in Revelstoke. So I'm very hopeful we can have this building full, because the worst thing for us is a building with 10 vacancies in it. But there does seem to be strong demand. There doesn't seem to be a lot of data on the demand.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I was just curious and we want this to be a success as well. So yeah, anything we can do to help, that would be great. Other than that, I like the way you've set the building up and changed your plan midstream to allow for storage garages and things like that. So that looks pretty good. And yeah.
Part of the reason we did that is I really like the idea of the townhomes. Unfortunately, the economics of the townhomes in terms of what they'll rent for versus the cost to build, they really threw the numbers out of whack, and we couldn't get the townhomes through the CMHC application when we worked with a broker. So we had to delete the townhomes, not because we don't like building the 3-bedroom family units, but financially they just weren't viable.
Thank you.
Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, same question as Councillor Ian Bailey. Well, a couple of questions. The 1 bedrooms, how much would the 2 bedrooms go for? I missed that, sorry. And when you say, and my second question, when you say market rent the units at market rent, I thought this was supposed to be sort of geared towards the missing middle in the housing spectrum. And I thought this was supposed to be geared towards that on the housing spectrum, the missing middle. And I thought I would like to see in the covenant, the 219 covenant, not only some language around that it has to be rented for 20 years, to stay as a rental unit for 20 years, but also some language around the price points of the units with some sort of test using BC housing formula or Canada mortgage and housing formula to make sure that they are still affordable.
So what we said in our original proposal was that we will do a section 219 covenant. And this is meant for the missing middle. And what that means is we're going to income test the people. So the units are going to the people that work in the community, and they're not going to the millionaire that has, a boat in Sicamous and wants to rent an apartment. So that's how it's handled. And that's actually done under CMHC's affordability criteria. I would, and in terms of the rents, the 2 bedrooms typically rent from anywhere 1,700 to 1,900 in that range somewhere, 17 to 1,800, and that's kind of market rent. If you start capping the rents from market rent in the section 219 covenant, that's actually outside of how BC Housing and CMHC does the missing middle. They cap who they can be rented to, not the rents. I'm not sure if we put a cap on the 219 covenant, a 2-bedroom can only rent for this amount, that we would be even interested in doing the project, to be honest. I'm happy to cap who can rent the units, but not what the market rents are.
Okay, thank you for your response.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey?
Okay, thanks. So you kind of answered the question of who decides what the market rents are. I guess that would be you, because you'd be technically, well, you would be the owner of the building and property. And then I guess am I correct in that? You would be the one making that decision?
Correct. We,
Okay.
we're, the rents will be, you know, we'll work with the property manager and we'll come up with, you know, the rents and, you know, to get those rents, we'll probably be looking at what new built, you know, new units are renting down the road in Salmon Arm and that type of thing. And that's how the market rents will be established.
Okay, thanks. And then, just follow.
Yep, go ahead.
We had talked about the townhouses and things for families. I'm just kind of looking at some of the sizes of the few bedrooms. There isn't any 3 bedrooms either. Is there a reason you decided not to go with that?
Well, the townhomes don't work economically. The cost to build the townhomes versus the rent, you couldn't get CMHC financing on them. So that's kind of why they're gone. You know, typically, you know, in most buildings being built in Kelowna and different places by, you know, different companies that are building a rental, it gets very hard to make the 3 bedrooms work. You know, your cost or your revenue per square foot goes way down on a 3 bedroom. So it gets hard to make the numbers work. We're kicking around the idea of when we go into final design of, you know, maybe deleting a couple 1 bedrooms and having a couple 3 bedrooms per floor. We're trying to assess the need for that. To be honest, it's unfortunately, there's not a lot of families that want to rent 3 bedroom apartments. If we can determine there's actually need and those will rent, we'll probably put a few 3 bedrooms in the building. But you'll notice, like most, you know, and even West Urban's building a building in Salmon Arm right now that's going to be a purpose-built rental. I'm sure Kelly knows about this. I don't believe there's any 3 bedrooms in that building. It's very tough to make the numbers work on 3 bedrooms as on purpose-built rentals as an apartment developer.
Thank you. Councillor Evans.
Thanks. As a follow-up to Councillor Ian's question, if it was possible to have 4 or 5 of them be 3 bedrooms, do you guys know off the top of your head, is a 3 bedroom? I mean, maybe you know of some that what the typical rent would be. Would it be something like $2,100 for a 3 bedroom apartment?
I'm gonna guess it would probably be $2,200-$2,300 for a 3 bedroom. But
Okay.
I'd have to, you know, we'd have to look at what the market rents are, you know, for 3 bedrooms in the area and try and assess that. You know, there's not a lot of new buildings. Like I can go into Kelowna typically and say, okay, there's 3 other new buildings that, you know, completed a year ago. That's what this is the market rents. It's very tough to do in Sicamous because there's not a lot to compare to. So the closest thing that we could compare to is probably buildings in Salmon Arm and look at what the rents are there. You know, Kelowna would obviously have higher rents, so that's not a great comparison.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thanks. One more. So when you don't know of many in Salmon Arm that are going to be 3 bedroom at all. Like if like you said, if you went down the path further design and you said that maybe 3 of them would be 3 bedrooms, you don't really know of any in Salmon Arm that you can kind of compare, but you're thinking they would be $2,100, $2,200.
Probably, you know, somewhere in that range. I'd have to try and get some data to see what they would be. You know, Kelly could probably speak to it better than I could, to be honest. But I do know that West Urban is building a new building in Salmon Arm. I don't believe it has any 3 bedrooms.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Rich.
I will say though that I'm not opposed to putting 3 or 4 3 bedrooms in the building. You know, it would probably mean less units overall because the space has to come out of somewhere, but I'm certainly not opposed to that idea.
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. I guess the first comment I'd have is Revelstoke is coming here. So Revelstoke is, I know different people with different rentals, and there are a lot of people from Revelstoke now coming here because Revelstoke is out of control and there's nowhere to rent, and their rentals are coming to Sicamous now, which again is driving up our prices. So that is happening and people need to live. So that's fair. Is there any room on that 20-year covenant? Because I know that these are purpose rentals for 20 years, or that's what we're proposing, but 20 years goes by pretty fast. Do you have any room in that? Because my concern would be that then these are sold out as condos.
Yeah, I don't see. It's hard to look 20 years in the future. We could maybe make it 25. Like what'll probably happen is at some point WCPG may sell this building to a REIT or something, and that's the whole purpose of the covenant. REITs are typically buying rental buildings; they're not in the condo conversion process. The reality is, it couldn't be converted because we won't be doing new home warranty on these. We'll get the rental exemption. It couldn't be converted to condo for at least 25 years. So, I wouldn't have a problem changing the 20 to 25. 25 years from now, I won't be running this company. So, I don't see us wanting to change it to condo. A rental to condo conversion is a pretty tough thing to do nowadays anyways. So, I don't see a lot of risk in it getting converted to condo, but I wouldn't be opposed to changing it to 25 years in the section 219 covenant.
Thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, thanks for answering all these questions. I know I have quite a few, so let me just go into this next one. The parking, there looks like there's two styles of parking, the garage and it just looks like surface parking. Can you explain what the garage parking is for and who that would get rented to? And then could you also explain the surface parking? I assume that's extra on top of the rent. These are all pluses, or are they included in that? Because we're a town with no transit, so a lot of people have to rely on a car.
Right. And typically, every unit will get parking. So the garages are meant for, obviously we would put them they're meant to be rented. So they bring revenue into the property. Like we kind of had extra property when we deleted the townhomes. So the garages, like we talked to some people, I think we talked to Kelly and Councillor Gordon, everybody thought the garages would be a good idea because, there's going to be people that rent there that may have toys, that may want a garage to put them in. There's there's other people in the town that I've been told that like it's really hard to find, space for rent garages and things like that. So the idea is it brings a bit of revenue into the property and it gives a place for people to rent. We'd rent them first to the people in the units, and if there was still two garages, we just open it up to other people in the town, kind of thing. In terms of the surface parking, that's it's all parking for the building. It won't be parking for people that don't live in the building.
Just a quick follow-up then. Okay, so for the garages, there's a potential that's just used as general storage. It could be rented for people outside of it. I think I got that. And I just want to just kind of talk about, and maybe you can explain a little bit further, because it's something I think a lot of people in this town don't really understand what the 219 covenant is, and then what happens after the 219 covenant comes off. And I'm wondering if you can just touch on that. I think I understand it fairly well, but maybe you could just explain
the
it.
219 covenant is registered on title. So, it's in favor of the district of Sycamoose. So like say for the 25 years. So for 25 years, that covenant would be on title. It would stop anybody that bought the building from, buying it from us 10 years down the road and saying, well, thanks guys, I'm just going to convert this to condos. They would not be able to do that because that covenant is on title. So, and the same with there'll be two covenants, one for that and one that it'll be, the CMHC guidelines for renting to the missing middle, and income testing the residents so that it basically goes to the residents first who are working there and are going to be in those income brackets. A doctor that lives in Vancouver that makes $500,000 a year would not qualify to rent one of these units. So those are both registered on title. They're in favor of the district of Sycamoose, and they stay on until either you allow them to come off, or if there's a time limit on them till they come off.
Thank you.
Counselor Evans.
Thanks. I just wanted to encourage you to consider at least making 2 3-bedroom apartments. I think they will rent out. I think that there's going to be families that are moving here that will not be able to move here unless there is that option. I'm pretty sure that would happen.
Well, and the reality is the purpose of this meeting was to kind of put the proposal in front of you. And then my understanding was you were then going to allow Kelly to negotiate with us on the different things. You know, if Kelly says, yeah, I'll give you these 4 things, but I want 4 3-bedrooms. You know, that's kind of in the negotiation. And I'm not opposed to putting a few 3-bedrooms in. I certainly wouldn't want a third of the building to be 3 bedrooms, but I'm not opposed to there being a few in the building.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks.
But that's up to Kelly to negotiate with me.
Okay. Counselor Rich.
Through the chair, and maybe this is a Kelly question. If for whatever reason you cannot finish the building, what happens to the land? Does it come back to us or?
That will be in the legal document. Like at this point, and I'm not even sure how this document will work in terms of the land and when the land turns over to us. You know, that we've got a development lawyer, and I'm sure that the district has a lawyer. They're going to have to work out those. But something like that, I'm sure there'll be a provision in the legal document that says if we don't finish the building, we don't get to keep the land.
Correct.
Yeah, further to that, you're correct. I have consulted with legal and we've talked high level of how we potentially could structure this. And it's really quite simple. It would be a purchase and sale agreement with subjects and conditions, right? And so the conditions, you know, if something happens, we would repurchase the land, but for $1, right? So it would come back to us. So those are some of the things that would be included in that.
That's interesting, Kelly, because that's kind of what my lawyer said too. The easiest way he could think of was a purchase and sale agreement but it was, and doing something with all these conditions attached to it.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. And on that note, though, just to ensure that we are not starting a project on Main Street and it's going to, and I know you guys have a great resume and I know that you're committed to this. But in St. Louis, we've seen a lot of people start projects and not complete them. So we want to make sure, and your resume is awesome. So I know that won't happen, but it has happened here. So there has to be some guidelines around that as well.
Yeah,
Counselor Evans. Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead.
The one thing, just to put your mind at ease to that, is this will be like, we'll be doing, obviously a bank loan to build this, and it'll be CMHC backed. So that's all very much controlled by the bank, and the bank hires a cost consultant for for each monthly draw. So like we wouldn't be able to start the project, we can even make that part of the part of the purchase and sale agreement that you guys have to have proof of funding prior to prior to the project starting, things like that. Because once that's in place, then it's kind of controlled by the bank and the bank's cost consultant and CMHC in terms of the distribution of funds on the monthly basis of the progress draws. So I would encourage Kelly negotiating from your side to make sure that there's something in that document that guarantees we have to show you proof of funding.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Counselor Evans, Counselor Bailey, then Counselor Rich.
Jim and Zach, I'm quite excited about this. If we get cracking on this, what do you guys see for timeline of completion?
Well, I want to start in the spring, is my goal, and that'll be a bit of a push now because the last couple of months we've been kind of going around in circles trying to figure out what to build. But if we got going on this 1st of January, I anticipate having a development permit application in front of you in 60 days. So, and depending on how quickly you guys can push that through council. So we could still start in the spring, and then it would complete 12 to 14 months after that.
Thank you. Counselor Bailey.
Yeah, a couple more questions if I can. So we're just thanks for giving the range on the rents. Would you be willing to give us the final sign off on what the initial rents would be? Because
Absolutely not.
yeah, okay. The reason I ask that is been through a few of these meetings in a Vancouver context. And what the initial rents are or was stated, they dramatically change once the building becomes operational. Obviously, there has to be a starting point for rent and we can come down to a range, but whatever that starting point for rent is, it just goes up from there. But I'm looking for some assurances that if it's gonna be $1,700 for a 1 bedroom, it actually, or sorry, 2 bedroom, then it actually is that.
Well, the
20.
reality is this, if I put the rents up higher than market rent, even if they're available, no one's going to rent them. At the end of the day, like I understand the city's putting up the land, and I think one of the big things we're doing is we're agreeing to come build this apartment building in Sicamous. If, you know, as an apartment developer, I can tell you it's really tough to convince a group of people in the boardroom that building a building in a town the size of Sicamous makes sense. I think it does, because I think there's more demand than the numbers show. If you just look at population size and things like that, I think it does make sense. But the reality is there's a very big risk for us. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're doing a $20 million bank loan to build this development that we're signing on. So, you know, the village is putting up the land and we're agreeing to build the building, but you know, reality is all the risk is on us. So to try and say, well, we'd also like to lock in the rents at a certain rate is not something we'd honestly be willing to do.
Just a follow-up?
Okay, quick follow-up.
Then just a question about the rents then. The rents are based on us giving you the land, and I assume the range that you gave me is also based on the incentives that you're asking for, which are the, I guess, the 10-year tax holiday on the entire building, the no permit fees and no DCCs. Is that correct? So if we weren't able to do that, then these rent ranges that you gave me would presumably have to, you know, be relooked at, correct?
Honestly, if we didn't have those, it's not the because the rents, you know, let's say it's costing more to build the building because we're not getting those to do the development because we're not getting those reductions. The reality is to put the rent somewhere where it would still make sense to do the building, people probably wouldn't rent the units. So we'd have a building, you know, with 10 or 15 or 20 vacancies because our rents were just too high. Those, like for just to give you an example, we just built a 79 unit or 77 unit building in Mission that has a much bigger population. We are getting the tax holiday there. We did get, because we're in the downtown incentive, we did get reduction on DCCs and everything. And less than an hour ago, I sat through the year-end meeting on that, and the building made $32,000 last year after costs and things. So there's not, like, it's not like there's massive money, you know, when you look at the loan payment and everything else and the operational costs. I like, honestly, I'm worried if we have 5 vacancies in this building, we're in a deficit situation the way it sits right now. So the rents really aren't based up and down on those reductions. Those reductions make the building viable to actually build and operate, assuming we can keep it full.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, Councillor McCabe.
Through the chair. So when you say that there'll be rules on who can rent this, how far out do we go? Are we going Revelstoke? Are we going Golden, Salmon Arm? You know, or, you know, do we know those parameters, or how do we set that up so we know that, you know, it is going to local people first? And
Well,
then if you're not filling it with locals, can that follow?
the rules are typically based on income, not on location. I actually don't think in BC legally you could say, well, you're not allowed to rent in Sycamoose if you're working in Revelstoke. I'm pretty sure legally you could not do that. You can do it based on the income percentile, which is what CMHC allows for. So, you know, and the reality is it's going to be advertised in Sycamoose. We're not going to be, you know, my goal is that this goes to people that live in Sycamoose first. But I don't think we can mandate that legally, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, thank you. Most of my questions have been answered. So the covenant will cover the length of time, hopefully 25 years, and thank you for being willing to do that. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you for being interested in our community, and thank you for being willing to do this in our community, because I believe you when you say it is a risk, and you could have less risk in a more populated community. I guess the only question I have left remaining is, with the covenant 219 covering the 25-year period, and also including a CMHC test for renters based on their income. Kelly, I mean, this might be for Kelly or our developer, I'm not sure. So would there also be a housing agreement? Do we need a housing agreement in this situation? Or would the housing agreement be in the 219 covenant that covers the years it has to stay as a rental unit, and CMHC testing for renters and maybe other conditions? So I guess my last question is, thanks for coming. And I hope this, I'm going to vote for this to proceed. I support this 100%. I'm on the housing committee. But yeah, sort of housing agreement. Do we need one in this instance, Kelly, or our developer?
I do not believe you need a housing agreement. I've done a couple buildings with these 219 covenants, one in Campbell River and the one in Mission. We did the same thing for both of those. So I don't, unless it's low income or with a nonprofit, I don't believe you need a housing agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, are you on the same page with that, or?
Yeah, I agree. And if anything, it'll just form part of the 219 covenant. So I'm not too fussed about that. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. Councillor Bushel?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, Jim and Zach, I really like what you put forward. I guess rent is gonna be what it's gonna be. You're gonna want that building filled. You don't wanna run half empty. And, it's not beneficial for you or for the community. So rent will be what it is. And, and it's pretty well protected by CMHC and their parameters. So, yeah, I really like what you're doing with Kelly, and keep negotiating, and we'll get closer here. And I'd like to see the building, start in the springtime. It would be very, very beneficial. And yeah, keep up the good work, and thanks for choosing Sycamoose.
Thank you.
Councillor Evans?
This is probably a question for Jim and Zach and Kelly. We're gonna get questions right away once we get shovels in the ground about how I get my name on the list. So what's the process usually for that, fellas? You've built a bunch of these.
So typically we start as soon as we start digging, there'll be signs up saying coming soon. And starting there'll be a website where you'll be able to go on and apply, all those type of things. Typically about 6 months before construction's done is when we start actually signing leases with people. Because at that point we have a very good idea of what the occupancy date is. But we start advertising as soon as we start a building. So there'll be like a website, at that point, you'll just be getting on the waiting list, because I won't take people's deposits till about 6 months before occupancy. But definitely, there'll be a big sign up. To be honest, once we have an agreement signed, we'll probably be putting up a big sign at the front of the property saying coming soon, and with the website already.
Good stuff. Do you get a CGI virtual tour of the rooms?
Sometimes. I don't know if we'll need to spend the money to do it for this,
Okay.
but
Awesome.
Just a comment from myself. I think that I agree with you. I think it's gonna fill. You talk about the Revy community. We also have businesses in town that may want to rent a space for their staffing needs or someone coming in or a manager coming in. So there might be an opportunity there. We might have opportunity with some of our aging population that want to stay in Sycamoose and move in.
I think you guys are muted there.
Yeah. Cut out there.
Lost your volume there, Colleen.
Just while we're waiting for Colleen to come back, one of the things she just mentioned is, businesses being able to rent. Technically, that's a great idea. It's actually going to cause a problem with that 219 covenant because technically a business wouldn't qualify. That's something we may want to look into when we write this covenant. If the owner of the Dairy Queen wants to rent 3 units to put people up, the people going in would qualify, but not the business. So, we might have to look at the wording of that and say that it's the occupants, not the renter, something like that have to qualify, because we don't want to exclude those businesses from being able to rent units.
In a way that we do have a mechanism written in that we're claiming that criteria will only apply to 80% of the units. So those 20% could be allocated towards businesses. So that could be one potential way around that.
Okay, thank you. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you back now.
Yeah, so my other point after that was our community and we've got some aging population. And some of those folks want to stay in Sycamoose, and right now they're selling their homes and they're moving to Salmon Arm. So this is an opportunity to open housing in Sycamoose and keep our folks that want to stay in Sycamoose. So I think there's an opportunity there as well. The other thing is the commercial space on the bottom where we're already getting inquiries. So I think that that's going to be a win as well. So I want to thank you guys. I think that maybe Councillor Beach and Councillor Bailey might have a couple. But I want to thank you guys for choosing Sycamoose as well. $20 million is a big risk, and but I am definitely excited about this project. It's a strategic priority for us. We've been talking about this for 6 years, so I'm glad that we're at this point, and I'm hoping that we will be moving forward. Councillor Beach.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, this is really an exciting project, and thank you for taking a risk on us. I think that it will fill. I think everything will fill. And if Bob hadn't asked that question about when you get signed up and registered, I was going to ask just when can I sign up? It sounds wonderful.
Great. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I guess I have a lot more concerns than my fellow councillors. I wanna really like this project, I do, but I have a lot of concerns around the land transfer. I have a lot of concerns around where the rent starts. I have a lot of concerns around the incentives, how much that costs. I mean, my calculation on the back of a napkin is in excess of $2 million. I also have, frankly, a lot of concern that this project isn't what we talked about to the community, and it just isn't. I mean, I've talked to about 50, 60 people in the last few days. I don't think they know that this is the project that we're agreeing on. They think it's more Habitat for Humanity. They think it's more affordable housing. We haven't even gone out to our community and actually done a public consultation on what this site looks like. We're having these kind of conversations. This just came up, but people actually don't know about this, and they don't know that this is the type of project. So I like you guys. I think this is obviously a business decision, and that's important for your end. And it is nothing personal against you. I think great builders, great developers. The question to me is this what is going to fit with the community and what we need here? And, I'll be honest, the last month I'm kind of depressed because I've been on a couple of things that council wants to do that I just can't get my head wrapped around. And this is yet another project that I can't, because I don't think this aligns to where the community wants us to be. I don't think this is meeting what their expectations of us are. And for that reason, I just have to be upfront with you about that, because I'm a business guy. I, you know, just give it straight. But I think you got, you know, more than enough people around here supporting it, but I just don't, I'm not comfortable with it.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Anyone else? Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair, Ian, you and I agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And,
Totally.
you know, I don't see Habitat for Humanity sitting out there or even come close to sitting out there. And I mean, this is what communities are doing to get housing. And we don't have, we had 4 people express interest in this program. And we have one leader that we all felt that was pretty good, very good. Matter of fact, because they're very busy in other communities. They don't really need to do it in Sycamoose because they're so busy in the bigger centers. But I really feel that, you know, after them coming here and driving through the community, seeing what was needed and seeing the opportunities that are here, and you know what's needed, like what our businesses need, what our residents need. I don't think there's any way around it. The next lower one is basically homeless shelter. I mean, we're doing exactly what CMHC wants and the provincial government want and Sycamoose wants. You know, I know you don't like the incentives, but that's what it takes to get somebody here. I think we need to do it. And that's just my comment. I know we'll disagree to agree. We'll get through this, but I do think this is very, very important for Sycamoose. And, you know, if we lose the chance of a development, it might be quite a few years. You see another one.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bushel. It's actually been 18 years, 19 years, because I think the Narrows, which I moved into when I got to Sycamoose, was the last big space bill. Councillor Rich and then Councillor Evans.
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, I think we have to be realistic about the rents. I watch the rents because I'm on the housing committee. And so a 55-year-old 2-bedroom right now in Sycamoose just went up for $1,400 a month. So, and if you're moving into any of the condos, you're probably looking for a 2-bedroom around $2,200. And that you're getting kicked out in May on that one too. So people will pay more to stay longer. So I think we need to be really, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but I think we need to be realistic what this is going to look like. And I think they will fill. I think that Revelstoke will fill them. I think we'll end up with a lot of people from Revelstoke. And that's people who are going to eat in our restaurants and buy our gas and but I think we're going to get a lot of commuting back and forth there. I guess I have a little bit of concern, like Ian does, you know, like, okay, if we do the 36 with the seniors and 55, that puts us 71. So we've got 71 more housing options in Sycamoose. So maybe that frees up other stuff as in houses that are maybe bigger, 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms for families. But we need to be very, very clear that this is market value housing and it is not affordable or obtainable housing. And if that's what we're looking at for Sycamoose, then this is not the deal we want. So I think that's more the decision for council. And maybe after this, I think this is a great company. I think they're going to do what they say they're going to do. I think we're going to have something really great on Main Street. But this is not obtainable housing, nor will it ever be. At you know, $2,300 a month, you need to make about $35 an hour, right? So
Thanks, Councillor Rich. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I just want to affirm my support for this project because last term when I was councillor, the questions from town were, I don't want a Habitat for Humanity project in town. We do not want subsidized housing. This is for hardworking, middle-class people, like Councillor Rich said, that are gonna support the town by living here, support the local store, the restaurants, the stores, and this is for just hardworking Canadians that want to move here, and right now they can't. I've talked to people that would live here if there was a place for them to rent at these rates. So this is affordable. That doesn't mean it's low income, and nobody wanted low income here. So I think this is a great project, and it's just the way the world is. We've gotten to this place where this is what it costs to live in Canada, and so I think this is a good move, and I'm ready to vote on this.
Thanks, Councillor Evans. Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, okay, so I am in favor of this project, and I realize that it's a middle income project, and I like all the other things that we're doing in our planning. I don't know if you saw the news release, the feds are behind us. They're going back to World War II planning, like pre-established designs and everything to speed up the housing for the homeless people. So I think that what we're doing as a sort of overall package is great here. I do want to comment, though, that there are people that do need subsidized housing. We've got people in the Haven right now that would not be able to afford to live as seniors. So we need to have that as well, and that's not to be considered a down part. You have to have all kinds of housing for all situations, because some of us don't make a lot of money on a monthly basis. Okay, so just.
Councillor Evans.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, Pam, that I was not one who was against the Habitat for Humanity project. I agree with you that we need to have both in our town, and I totally agree that it's a good thing to have options for people that are seniors as well, and people that make less too. So I'm not at all saying we just need to worry about the middle class at all. So
I know.
I just want to clarify.
Thank you.
And
Can I respond?
yeah, quickly.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's great. I just want it to be clear, because I want the public to understand that that's not the way we feel.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify my point. This is really not even a debate that has to do with the developer. I mean, there was, in my view, expectations given that this was going to be an attainable, affordable housing. We're not there. And that's all I'm saying, is that this is not even in the same ballpark as what was discussed 4 years ago. Not even close, which is fine. It evolves. But my strong thoughts are, this should have gone back to the community. There should have been a larger discussion. I know we're forwarding this today, but that's why I'm not voting for it. And I mean, I've gone through this with my concerns around the healing center and stuff. I think we need to start doing these things in a much better way, much more, this information needs to get out as part of a discussion in the community before we start advancing this stuff. And I'll guarantee you, people do not know this. I mean, it's like I said, I've told some people, I've had lots of comments back in the last few days. No one really understands why we're giving away the land. No one understands why the incentives, like all of these things to come up with a purpose-built rental. So yeah, it's kind of beside the point. And this is none of this is directed towards the developers at all. It's more of a discussion here. So, but anyways, that's all I have to say. Yeah, thanks.
Could I just add something in this?
Sure.
If the district is looking for some affordable / obtainable housing, the reality is you need to get a nonprofit involved.
Yes.
You need to put together a proposal, and you need to put it in with one of these BC housing calls, because it will have to be funded. And most of those projects are taking, the current funding call at BC Housing. They say 1 out of every 10 projects is going to get approved that put applications in. So a lot of those type of projects are taking 5 to 8 to 10 years to get through BC Housing, because they only approve 10% of what goes in there. So if the district is looking that they also need that, or that's what they need, that's gonna be probably a 5 to 10 year process to get that project going. So it's something that you're gonna have to find a nonprofit to work with and start that process if there's also a need for that in the city, because we're involved in those projects also.
Yeah.
And they take a very long time to get through BC Housing.
Thank you for that. That's
Yeah,
a,
yeah,
that is an important comment. Sorry.
yeah, no,
And I do take your point on that. I really do. And that's why I'm not directing any of these comments towards you at all. And
thank you.
thanks.
Okay, Counselor McCabe, and then Counselor Rich, we got new
Yeah,
stuff.
thank you. So I did mention earlier that I do support this project 100%, and I thank the developers for their interest in our community. I am cognizant of the needs for rental units in Sicamous. My daughter and my grandchildren had to move to Armstrong because they couldn't find rent locally. So it's close to home for me. We are supporting seniors. We are giving seniors some property. We've transferred title to their name already for 36 units of seniors housing. We are focused on this project for young families, even though some are just 1 bedrooms, and but a balance of 2 bedrooms, maybe possibly 1 or 2 units, 3 bedrooms. And so we are bringing in purpose rental property that does not exist. There is none in Sicamous. The Haven was built 47 years ago. This is way overdue. And as far as getting a nonprofit to build something that's affordable or attainable, we have 2 nonprofits in Sicamous for housing. We have Sicamous Housing Society, which was established 2 years ago, but isn't really active. And we have Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing Society. And they're on record of saying that they don't want to operate purpose-built rentals for young families. So we have a developer saying that they're willing to manage the units, not only build them, but manage them. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. And I think our constituents, our population will be happy that there's more units coming to Sicamous for rent, and will be locked in for rent for at least 25 years.
Hey, thank you, Counselor McCabe. Counselor Rich, you have something new?
Yeah, just through the chair. The only other thing I would add to this is I think adding units is just going to help Sicamous, and it's maybe not what everybody wants, but maybe the housing community committee and this council can also put some time into looking at co-ops and bringing something like that, or start working on getting Habitat or whoever, right, a nonprofit in to get there. Those are going to be long-term, but I think we absolutely need both. I think we need both.
And that's another conversation. Yeah, we can get into that for sure. Okay, we've got stuff coming up, so
Yeah. Just for clarity, I've got a very high level resolution here that the committee agree in principle to the proposal for the development on 425 Main Street as presented this 13th day of December.
got a mover? Got a seconder? Counselor Evans moves, Counselor Bushel seconds. I think we've discussed this around all in favor? Opposed, just one opposed, Counselor Bailey. Thank you guys very much for your presentation, and thank you for looking at Sicamous. We do appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much for having us. And the one thing I'll mention, someone said that they're already getting calls for people on the commercial space. We'd kind of like to talk to those people through the design process. So if anybody's looking for that, maybe tell them to call us.
Yep. Perfect. We got her. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to make a little shuffle here. We're going to bring up the Shuswap Healing Center, draft interior. And sorry, buddy, we're just going to bump you back a little bit there. And we've got Malcolm on and Karen here right now. So we're just going to move that one up if council doesn't mind. Okay, so that's going to be Kelly and Brian. Is Brian online?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry we're moving this up. Brian just has another commitment and I want him to give us a high level walkthrough of the interior. So so we've got the exterior locked and loaded, but as part of that contract, we want to attach a preliminary interior layout because we want to minimize the number of change orders and change orders occur if we're changing exterior doors, stuff that affects that piece. So Councillor Beach, Karen and myself have met multiple times with Brian as well as the builder and gone through multiple different scenarios for layouts. And with that, this is our final product as of yesterday. And Brian, I don't know if you would like have a few minutes to just walk us through a few things on the layout.
Hello, Brian.
Oh, I'm going, okay. He's now off it. That's fine. I'll just walk through the layout. If anybody's got any questions, then we'll go. I don't know why this does this. So it's very similar to the previous layout that we've looked at. So you park here, you've got the doctor's MOA space here, and there we go. We have enough rooms for 1, 2, 3, 4 healthcare providers. They each get an office and 2 exam rooms, which is more than what we will need for that. So some of these could be multi-function for other type of care. Then we have a procedure room in the corner, 3 behavioral health, whatever that looks like. These ones here could turn into behavioral health as well. Then we've got a hydrotherapy and a physio room in the corner, which is accessed through the building, but also the ability to have access off hours if that is needed. Then there'll be that side entrance there, and it has a shower area and a bathroom for the ease of use with the physio and hydrotherapy space. Then there are 2 doors here that will be always locked so that the healthcare piece, people aren't going in and out from this main open space. In terms of the main open space, what we've done is we're adding some cabinetry, and exactly where they are still may change. But it's not a kitchen by any means. There's going to be like a coffee area, a little mini fridge. To be determined exactly how big those little cabinetry spaces are for each unit. But what we've done is we've got the staff room door here so that if there are caterers or things that are happening, there is some kitchen space and prep area in this multifunctional staff room that can be used along with the community space. Then we have the traditional healing space right here. It really hasn't changed hordes from what we looked at it before. I don't know, Pam, if you wanted to comment on anything else.
Yeah, no, it looks very, very similar to what we discussed. I'm just looking, the one thing that I would like to check with, that I thought of and then forgot to do anything about is the procedure area and the entrance into the primary care, just to check with the ambulance folks, because they'll be the ones that will be bringing in stretchers if we ever have an emergency in the clinic, and that does happen. I know, and I look at the entranceway and stuff, and there's no direct access to the procedural room, which would also double as a triage room. So that was the only question after our last meeting that occurred to me, and I forgot to actually follow through on it. And I still wonder about making sure of that access. But other than that, I really like the way we're utilizing the staff space and its close proximity to the community space. I think the design is great. And yeah, it hasn't changed a lot since we actually talked about it. There's a couple of spaces for virtual health meetings with professionals, and I think it's going to work really well.
Great. Thanks, Pam. Karen, any comments? I know you're part of this team. You're all happy.
No additional comments. Actually, Brian's done a great job of making the changes that we chatted about last week. And we're just trying to make sure that everything, there's the multifunctional group. So one of the example, one day might be a massage.
Oh, perfect.
It's looking good.
Good, thank you. Kelly, anything else to add?
No, I don't. And I don't need a resolution. I just wanted to show this for information. This isn't our final interior layout, but it's getting close enough that we want to attach it to our shell building. So we're minimizing the change orders for
Yeah.
all that piece. Yes. Yeah.
Understand. Councillor Rich?
Through the chair. Oh, my only question is like with the traditional healing or the community space, someone's using like, is there a way to shut doors off so that those people don't have full access to the building, right? So if I'm renting the community space, can I still, and understand office doors will shut, but is that something we've looked at? Is that something we want? But that, you can kind of, it looks like you can I'm pointing on my.
Yeah, so
Up top there.
this will be right here and right here will be permanently locked doors. So we'll need a fob to access this so that when you come in as I'm a user, let's say I'm going to some kind of training session or conference in the community space, I will have access to the community space, the bathrooms, the janitor and storage rooms will be locked. And this will all be locked as well, right?
Yeah.
So they would have access to come in here to use this for prep space. And I mean, this traditional healing space will also be locked unless it's being used.
Okay.
I'm assuming, right? Oh,
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Bushel, do you have any comments?
Oh, looking good.
Okay, speech.
I just wondered if Karen, because I don't know if we talked about it. How do you, when you look at the access to the primary care and the procedure room in the corner, in terms of getting getting ambulance, a gurney and stretchers in and out of there to pick up people, which does happen. You've probably had it happen too. Do you think that that's a little bit convoluted for?
Well, because there's that wall there,
Yeah.
creates a bit of a vestibule. I mean, it would be a little bit in the, I don't, but it's wheelchair accessible. It's.
Yeah, I know. And
Up to maneuver.
yeah, but I just know how that does happen, where we actually have someone just kind of get to that point where we realize they need to be in an ambulance and out. So, yeah, so that's.
Can we have a look at that? Yeah, okay, note.
Visit the addition of another door here to exit for the.
Councillor Bushel.
Maybe just add another set of doors on the, so you can actually bring a stretcher right in or out.
Straight in.
Straight in.
Yeah, they'll have to look at
Right
it.
in the main entrance where you come in the main entrance, you make, just go straight through that.
I see, instead of a wall there, like you could have another set of door.
Yeah, you just put a,
Yeah, I didn't hear.
you put a.
Up there. Yeah, okay.
Have keys to.
That would work, where you could just come straight in. Gorgeous.
Councillor Bushel. Okay, do we have anyone else have any comments or questions? No? All good.
We're
Good.
carrying on.
Carry on, Kelly.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay. We're gonna go to Community Energy Emissions Plan. Catherine McDougall and Peter Robinson. Are you online, guys?
Hi, yes, we're here.
Awesome.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Nicole.
That's okay. Through the chair, maybe I'll just do a quick introduction.
Sure.
So yes, we have Catherine McDougall and Peter Robinson from the Community Energy Association. Both have been working with Steffi, the planning assistant, to complete our community energy and emissions plan. But earlier this year, we entered into a contract with the CEA to complete the plan. And to date, there's been a couple workshops over the summer and today. And so today we'll hear from both of them on that, as well as maybe request some direction from the committee as to where to go from here and some next steps with the plan. So that's just a brief history and you guys can take it away.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think I'll be doing the first few slides and then I'll be shifting over to Catherine. So I guess I'll share my screen. Just pull that up. And hopefully you can see my screen okay. And can everyone hear me okay? Let's do a quick sound check.
Yeah.
You can? Fantastic. So I'll just say a few quick words about the Community Energy Association, and then I'll just very quickly introduce myself, and then I'll let Catherine introduce herself. The Community Energy Association was formed about 25 to 30 years ago through an MOU between some provincial ministries and also UBCM as well. And we were run out of UBCM as UBCM's Energy Aware Committee for a number of years until we were spun off as independent charity in 2003. And since then, now we're governed by our board, and our board includes representation from, say, the province of BC, BC Hydro, Fortis, and the transit providers, and also many local governments and a lot of other folks as well. And myself, I'm Peter Robinson. I'm the Director of Climate Planning with CA. I've been with CA for 15 years. And I've been involved in dozens of these types of plans. Catherine, would you like to introduce?
Sure, thanks, Peter. Yeah, nice to see everyone today. I'm Catherine McDougall. I'm the Climate Planning and Research Specialist here with CA. I've been part of the planning team coming up on 2 years now.
Great, thank you. So thank you very much for having us this evening. So it's going to whiz through some of these slides and then hand it over to Catherine. So, sorry, introductions. Okay, so I'm just going to run through quickly the purpose of the plan, the context. Then Catherine's going to take us through the inventory, projections and targets, actions, project work completed to date, and then potential engagement options, because that's what we understand that you're very interested in hearing more about. So just to run into some background. So what is a community energy emissions plan? So it is a plan just to look at, well, the energy consumption and emissions within a community, make a plan to try to reduce those. So it does have an energy and emissions inventory and also an energy expenditure inventory. And it makes some projections going out in the future. We do some modeling. We have some greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. All communities in BC are required to have, if they have an official community plan or regional growth strategy, are required to have greenhouse gas emission reduction targets within that plan. And that is a requirement of the province of BC. It's been in place since about 2008, if I remember correctly. It's been in place for quite some time. And then it has a plan to try to meet those targets. And it can increase the community awareness and, well, it should increase community awareness and actions by individuals and businesses. And the whole idea of the plan, of course, is to actually lead towards implementation. Generally, they're one part of broader local government climate actions. So a lot of local governments also have corporate energy and emissions plans, or they have, adaptation and resilience plans. So the latter is more about, how the climate is changing and what are we going to do in order to try to adapt to those sorts of changes that, well, are already happening, actually, as we all know. So what's in the toolbox? So local governments can do things in infrastructure, in policy and regulation, and also they can engage and collaborate. And so all the actions fall under one of those three categories, of course. And then, so one of the things we like to emphasize, of course, is co-benefits. So there's a lot of benefits of having a plan. I've mentioned the legislative requirements of GHG targets, and it helps you with respect to the Climate Action Charter. Now, almost all local governments in BC have signed the Climate Action Charter. It's a voluntary thing to sign. There's only one local government in BC that hasn't signed it. And it can also help in terms of funding. So you are probably aware of the LGCAP funding, the Local Government Climate Action Program funding that you will have received, and it's very generous. And so having a plan like this can help you in terms of establishing priorities on where and how to spend that money, and also preferably to leverage that money to get more money. Because the LGCAP funds, they look like they come from you, even though the funds came from the province. When you're applying to even to the province of BC or to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities or somewhere else for some other funds, those funds look like they come from the district, which is a tremendous advantage to those, because a lot of funding programs look for some kind of skin in the game. And so this looks like your skin in the game, even though really it's been given to you. And LGCAP funds are supposed to be spent on something that matches the provincial, mitigation or adaptation plans. If we look at the chart over to the right here, the chart to the right talks about the benefits of climate action. And, one of the things, for example, I'll take an example of the Yukon. So I've done, we've done quite a bit of work in the Yukon. I've been up to their conference, their UBCM equivalent up in the Yukon, at least 3 times now, I think, if I remember correctly. And almost every presentation that they have, even if it's about, say, remote telecommunications and how we're going to deal with that, almost every presentation covers climate change in one way or another, because the climate is changing faster in the north, and it's just an established reality. And so I was very interested to hear that when I was up there. And then, but it was also interesting to see that they don't, I was trying talking to them about, reducing emissions, and they say, well, we're so small, there's only 40,000 people across the whole territory. Even if we do something, what does it matter given, if the rest of the world doesn't? We're just a drop in the ocean. And, that is, there is, something to that. I always like to try to encourage people to, lead and, take responsibility, but there is obviously a lot of truth to that as well. But so, we do like to emphasize, there's a lot of co-benefits to climate action. And so we should always try to do something that is going to do more than one thing for a community. So, yes, something might reduce emissions, but it will also, increase tree cover and make our community more beautiful, for example. Or, we can, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but, with, by giving people more transportation options, we can support aging in place within our community, and we can increase livability and, by giving people the option to kind of cycle and walk around the community. So things like that in terms of some of the benefits. And there's a lot of benefits. Climate action doesn't happen in a vacuum. So, there is work happening on the federal level and also the provincial level. Federally, this was the first climate plan in 2016. Then this next one came out, so I forget the year exactly, to be honest. And then this one came out recently, the 2030 emissions reduction plan. And provincially, the province has actually been working on climate action for quite a bit longer than the federal government. And I think this is now actually the 3rd iteration of our provincial climate plans. Actually, no, sorry, this roadmap is actually the 4th. So the roadmap to 2030, and it builds on the previous Clean BC plan. Okay, so climate action in the region. Oh, and actually, it might be worth mentioning, the provincial government obviously has a lot of authority. And so there's a lot of different actions within the Clean BC plan that have, fairly substantial impact to communities in BC wherever they are. And so those include things like the stepping up within the BC building code, so that buildings are required to be more efficient as time goes on. So you might have noticed there was a big step in the BC building code very recently over the last couple of years, where suddenly buildings had to be built to be about 20% more efficient than the previous year. And that's going to step up again in a few more years, and it's going to step up again in 2032. So there's progressive steps to increasing efficiency. There's also some legislation with respect to light duty vehicles. It was in the roadmap and it was in Clean BC, and they passed it through something called the Zero Emission Vehicles Act, where all light duty vehicles are going to have to be zero emissions. They don't specify what technology, they just say they have to be zero emissions from 2035. And there's some kind of stepped up targets within there. Interestingly, the market is already we're already beating the targets compared to where the province of BC expected we would be at this point. Yeah, there's lots of different things.
Richard, could I just interrupt for a sec? Just in the interest of time here, you probably have about 9 minutes and 24 slides. So just letting you know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, so I'll just be really quick and then I'll hand it over to Catherine. So basically there's lots happening in the region, lots happening in the CSRD. and hopefully you have these slides because I'm just going to skip right through. Lots of your neighbors have community energy emissions plans. This is roughly the Silga region, and lots also are looking at corporate operations. And to the right there, this is, you have a lot of, we just did electric vehicle fast chargers for this slide. If we did the level 2s as well, it'd be very, very difficult to see. And then there's a lot of other things happening, and this is just kind of a brief snapshot of a lot of the different things that are happening all over the Southern Interior. And we're actually missing masses of things out of here. There's a lot of interesting things happening with respect to climate action across the area. And I like to pick the village of Lumbee because I think it's a community that a lot of other small communities can relate to. You know, so this is just, you know, what they've done, you know, electric vehicle charging outside their village office and solar photovoltaics on the roof. And they're actually looking to expand the solar system, and I think expand the charging as well. And then natural assets, I understand, I understood from the workshop there was strong interest in natural assets. And so there's basically, you know, it can really help the community, both with respect to greenhouse gas emissions, obviously also community beautification, but also helps the community with respect to, can respect in terms of things like controlling floods, stabilizing shorelines, and that kind of thing. And there's support for that within, for example, Clean BC, the roadmap to 2030. Okay, so Catherine, just let me know when you want me to update slides.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time here talking about the current state, emissions, and expenditures wise, and then take a look at the projections. So the first slide here is showing the current emissions. So this most recent inventory year we have is 2019, and this shows the breakdown of emissions from the different fuels that are used in your community, as well as emissions from waste. So you'll see in the dark blue there that, you know, just over 2/3 of emissions are coming from mobility fuels. So that includes gasoline and diesel, and used in passenger vehicles as well as commercial vehicles. So that's quite a significant chunk of your emissions, and that's good to know as we start talking about actions and planning and seeing what we can do to reduce emissions. The second biggest portion of emissions comes from waste. So that's the breakdown of waste and organics in your landfills. Then we have a few different fuels that are used for heating in your community, so wood, propane, and heating oil. And then the last 6% there coming from electricity. So it's a relatively low emissions intensive fuel, but it still is there. And then on the next slide here, we can take a look at expenditures in the community. So these are some estimates on what the community spends on energy and different fuels in the community in 2019. So as a whole, the Sycamus residents and businesses spend around $15 million annually on different fuels, and that works out to about $5,600 per person. And one thing we like to talk about is how, you know, most of that money is leaving your community. So it's something important to consider. Similar to emissions, the biggest portion is coming from mobility fuels. So your residents and your businesses are spending, you know, just over half of their expenditures on filling up their cars with gasoline or diesel. The second biggest portion we have here is electricity. So even though it's low emission wise, it's pretty significant when it comes to expenditures. It is a relatively expensive fuel, and just about 1/3 of expenditures in the community are spent on electricity. And then, as mentioned before, we have a few different heating fuels. So wood, propane, and heating oil make up the last 10% or so of expenditures in the community. All right, so if we look going forward, here are the projections we have for business as usual. So from 2007 to 2019 on the graph, we have inventory years. So that's, you know, the estimates for what has already happened, what the emissions looked like in previous years. And then 2020 going forward out to 2050 is what we project will happen if no action is taken by Sycamus. So it does include things like policies at the provincial and federal level, some of those things that Peter was talking about. It also takes into consideration the changing population, so growing population, and a changing climate. So we'll have more cooling demands and less heating demands as the climate continues to change. And yeah, one thing I just wanted to point out on this chart here is you'll see in the red is the GHG target. So that's just the proposed emission reduction target. That's something that there's still more discussion needed, but that's something we have on there now, just so you can see how the emission levels line up with that target. So even though they are trending downwards in future years, it's still not enough to get to that target, which is where this plan will come into place. And I am going to pass it back over to Peter to walk us through just kind of at a high level where some of these focus areas are going to be in the plan and what we're proposing.
So yeah, just at a very high level, because the emissions come from, a number of main sources, then that's what you have to tackle in order to actually reduce emissions. And so, transportation being the biggest, and there's kind of three main ways to deal with transportation. There's kind of looking at options, like transit, active transportation. There's trying to decarbonize the vehicles, passenger vehicles that are still on the road, and also decarbonize the commercial vehicles that are still on the road. And in terms of co-benefits, we've seen, for example, a lot of communities in the Kootenays install electric vehicle chargers as a way to encourage, for example, people with electric vehicles to stop at their communities, charge, and then visit, for example, local restaurants and shops and that kind of thing. Buildings, we've seen, so tackling emissions from new buildings, stepping up new buildings, for example, step code, and decarbonizing the existing buildings. And then for waste, they're trying to deal with. And in terms of where we thought you should probably prioritize, as probably because you only have so much time and energy and so on, then probably electrifying passenger transportation would make the most sense. Looking at existing buildings with the community, some sort of a retrofit support or promotion or something like that, and then the others together. Okay, so project work completed to date. So it is the greenhouse gas emission inventory and business as usual projections. Workshops, we have done 1 out of 2 workshops so far. And we have also done some internal engagement for staff and stakeholders. And so in terms of public potential engagement options, so there is some potential for some, we could either look at, we can look at one or both of these. So a public online dialogue or online open house that offers residents an opportunity to learn about the process, learn about the actions, discuss local priorities. Then input can be used to help form the report, and or also a public survey. So where we have, an online survey that's then disseminated by the district, and then, we collect and analyze the results. So we've done a number of both of these. Obviously, a survey people can do in their own time, and so we can have kind of broader, can have some broader appeal, broader outreach. One of the things that seemed to happen with Vernon that want to be a bit careful with is that with Vernon, it seemed to be that a lot of people from outside the community ended up responding. And so we just need to try to be careful with that, just try to make sure that that doesn't happen. And there might be a couple of ways that we can do that. Yeah, I don't know really what else to say about those. The next steps, so some sort of a decision on engagement, and then we look at finalizing the report creation, look at a final council presentation, and then look towards implementing. And with that, just like to see any questions. Hand it back over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? No, I think, Councillor Evans.
Just a comment, thank you for the good information, and it's very illuminating. Thanks for that.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. So District of Sycamoose Development Corporation quarterly update. Carly, take it away.
Thank you. Hello again. This will be super quick because as I was rereading it, I recognized that I did go through a lot of it in the finance meeting. So I am going to keep this speedy. For the year-to-date MRDT as of September 30th, it's $112,960. That's split up between our accommodators, our traditional accommodators, around 84,000, and our online Airbnbs, VRBOs, about 28,000. So year to date, over 2022 is a 1.2% increase. Obviously, September really gave it to us to decrease that, but 2023, or as I stated earlier, the 2022 revenue decreased almost 50% in September. Overall, though, good news story. We are 19.2% on the online accommodator. So the short-term rentals for reporting it is working. Increase from year to date over 5.2, still ahead, just not as much as 21 or 2022 or 2021. We are still growing on our social media, so we're doing stuff right, which is really great. And website performance, as predicted, has dropped from summer viewing. It'll pick up again as we get into, as soon as the snow flies, we'll start to have more page views as we focus on our winter content. The CAP strategic planning session happened, and that's what really drove the MRDT plan for 2024, which has been submitted to Destination BC. They review it over the next 4 to 6 weeks and get back to us with a final stamp of approval. I talked about BC Bird Trail, so I did include some links for you guys if you'd like to go through and see where we're, what that program looks like. But again, we're one of 14 communities that joined the BC Bird Trail Consortium, which is DBC co-op funding. So we put in an equal amount as Shuswap Tourism and Samara MacDev. Destination BC matches that amount, and then we fall under the provincial program of it. So again, it's an opportunity from May to June and September to November to increase our visitation through seasonal dispersion of a new activity that's actually quite popular. Quick key fact, there's over 300 species of birds that can be breeding in our area. So it's definitely something that we would work with the next 3 years. And we continue to review the impact of our Kelowna Arrivals digital ads and our Trans-Canada Highway billboards ads. The Geo Tour is still going strong. Today we've had over 2,000 logs and 171 favorite points. We will be including an additional 10 cache locations. Oh, sorry, the additional cache locations we added for 2023 translated to 26 incremental overnight stays spent in Sikamooka since July of 2023. So that just means that we're getting more people coming in to actually do the tour and spending at least one night in Sikamooka to make sure that they complete the tour. So as we grow the amount of physical caches on our tour, that number should increase because it is a very advantageous thing for people to collect their digital gifts and their coins. I can see you doing. Oh, I told you to scroll down. Oh. And then next year we will be adding a puzzle focus. So it really sets us apart from other geocache tours in the area. And this will be where we can finally engage our accommodators to look at pricing their rooms as a stay and play for the geocache tour to entice people to come and stay at their properties. We supported the DBC launch of the Rainforest to Rockies Iconics campaign. This has been a 5-year project for Destination BC. And what they've done is, if you take some time to go and Google it, they've created 7 tours throughout BC where they're trying to encourage international visitation and basically made a ready-made itinerary. Sikamooka actually lands on 2 of those itineraries. The very first one that they've launched in this program is the Rainforest to Rockies, and we there's I think 5 different groups that you can take you on, or that it takes you on, and it references our specific location as a stop through point on that tour. I talked about the STR program, so our hotels are aware of it. So now we're going to talk to them going into 2024 about the benefits and revisit them now that we're outside of summer, so that we can get them on board to again get more in-depth data that tracks our specific visitation to Sikamooka, as having rural sample sizes makes it very difficult to find visitation data if you're not investing in cell phone data, which gets very pricey and sometimes doesn't necessarily correlate the right data that we need to show the hotels our true visitation patterns. We are continuing those conversations with TODA, BC Hotel Association, and the BC Destination Marketing Organization advocacy groups about the impact that the wildfire travel ban had that was put down on August 19th. So that is an ongoing conversation. And as we go into 2024, more action plans will be laid out to the community so that there's consistent messaging from all of our tourism industry associations and destination marketing organizations. So we are all on the same page and can deliver the information to our tourism industry businesses in each of our communities to help them get through should a crisis come up again next summer. We supported Shake the Lake Funky Fest, the 5th annual Jim Rice Fishing Derby, and the Sled Canoe Film Festival, and we'll continue to support our small community events in an effort to bring people in again in our shoulder season timeframes. And then I was able to attend some courses in development courses or conferences, in development courses. The Toda Tourism Summit in Penticton, the Shuswap Tourism Strategic Development Plan Workshop in Seminar, and the DBC Crisis Management course, which was delivered online, but they did a series of sessions for every DMO throughout the province. So again, it's a united front as we look to combat the misperceptions and the issues when we have crisis communication going on in the media. Any questions on tourism?
Council, any questions? I know that you shared this morning, but we probably have more people online for COW, so.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, you don't need to cut corners with us. Okay, thank you.
Carly, just one question through the chair. That Jim, the fishing derby, when is that?
So that's always the first Sunday in November.
November, okay.
Yeah.
Is
They
that,
always launch at the main boat launch.
Yeah.
They have a really good turnout. They do, their youth angling program and then their regular competition.
yeah, because they also launch out at,
Old Town Bay.
Yes.
gosh, I couldn't believe how many cars were out around that weekend.
Yeah, it's a really popular event.
Yeah, oh, that's.
It is huge. It's huge. Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, Carly, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. I really like what I'm seeing. Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, your signage at the beach park and all of that stuff is great. As a matter of fact, I think someone made a comment that they were angry at the mayor for putting all those signs up, but it has nothing to do with the DOS. It's all about tourism. So we should get that straightened away.
Yeah, through the chair, it was funny when we were installing them, we had somebody give us the business about putting up wonderful signage that actually looks really nice.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I hear you. Anyone else? All right, carry on.
And just to state, I will be presenting in January, the 2024 plan. I'll come and present it to you guys. This is really just talking about what we've accomplished up until the end of the year. So, okay, for economic development. So we have the business support sessions, which based on feedback from our business walks, we established some key courses that businesses were looking at receiving, and these were free of charge to Sycamore businesses. We had 42 participants over 3-night sessions. In October, we did a grant writing 101, succession planning, and a digital presence. So from that feedback that we got from the participants, we're actually going to continue to offer those again at the beginning of the year because there was a lot of content and need for our small businesses to understand the changing landscape more so as it applies to the digital and e-commerce world. The community profile investment package, the first draft has been completed. I just collected the last round of feedback, and those will be going to Gen X marketing to start to build out the actual package. So I appreciate everybody that provided their input in that. We supported the Chamber of Business for Biz. Sheila outlined that program. I started working on an RFP for the development of a tourism impact study, which I'll be sending out in 2024, and that will fall under our 2024 projects that we're doing for the DevCorp. I noticed I put this in here twice, but I am still working with the local media on a women-owned business article because it is very impressive the amount of female-owned businesses that we do have in Sycamore, and we want to make sure that that article is written properly and it'll be pushed out in the new year. Social media and website presence are ongoing. The Rural Northern Immigration Pilot and the Provincial Nominating Program. I'm working with Sycamore business on both of those programs that they're going to be accessing through that process. Advocacy and committee representation. I'm part of the Shuswap Economic Recovery Task Force, which was created after everything that happened over on the other side of the Shuswap. So we sit on the following subcommittees: the business, professional, and supply chain support, so we can really understand the impacts that happen to our businesses on the ground there and figure out the solutions on what they need. As I mentioned earlier, it's the people that sit on this committee do represent all areas of business, and government. We have a couple area directors from the CSRD, and then we have each of our economic development organizations throughout the Shuswap sit on it, as well as businesses like BC, Community Futures, et cetera, Oakland College. So where it's a very wide scope of expertise that sits on this to help us take the issues that are happening on a local level and really understand them versus waiting for provincial to sort of guide that. Also, I sit on part of the tourism industry support as well. The Shuswap Trails Working Group and the Shuswap Workforce Hub Committee. So those are again a lot of the advocacy and initiatives that we're looking at to support our local communities through those. And then conferences, I was able to attend the BCEDA Learning Exchange Leadership Conference in Richmond in November. It was an amazing opportunity to network because it was very much focused on rural communities and how economic development is being done in rural communities. So made some great contacts with communities that are sort of the same size as us. And I'm happy to report that they use SICMOVE for a lot of positive case studies on movement and projects and the way that the town is, addressing challenges such as staffing, retention, housing, et cetera. So I was quite happy to hear us called out in a very positive way.
Excellent, good. Council, any questions? You're doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Very
Merry
good.
Christmas, Carly.
Okay. Moving right along, BC Residential Tenancy Act. I brought this because of our housing strategy. I brought this forward because I think that we do need to visit it. We've got people that are putting homes in their backyards or thinking about it. We're trying to encourage some, open up some housing here in Sycamoose, from short-term rentals to long-term rentals. And I doubt if people are gonna jump into that with the issues around removal of a tenant in British Columbia. So we've pulled together stuff, but I only got it today, so I really haven't gone through it. It looks like Alberta has, the easiest process. BC just sent out something today where their disputes aren't taking as long as they used to. So I mean, there's a lot of disputes with the Tenancy Act here in British Columbia. So I want us to have a look at it. I wanted us to have a discussion about it and perhaps look at creating resolution or not resolution, sorry. Yeah, a resolution to take SILGA and move forward that we ease up or make some changes to the Tenancy Act to make it more user-friendly for the homeowner. So does council have any comments about that? Do you guys agree, disagree? Do you want to move forward with having a look at this? Councillor Evans?
Yeah, I think we really should, because we want to know where things are at and how to make sure that we know our stuff for future development here too.
Councillor Rich?
Through the chair, I think we should, everyone should read the act or some of it or the highlights of it and stuff before we vote on what we're doing, because unless you've been a tenant in a dispute or you've been a landlord in a dispute, I don't feel like we've got, I think we should have the information before we go.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Put a letter.
But is this
Even putting a letter forward, right?
Yeah. So I just want, is this a direction that we want to? Councillor Bushel?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's part of the overall problem, so I think it's something that should be looked at for sure.
Councillor Beach?
The chair, yeah, I think it is something that we need to understand both sides of. So I agree that we should look at this.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I guess our next step is to get Sarah, perhaps you could get some information to all of us so that we can, go through it and some, like you've given me the Alberta stuff here too. So and the Alberta stuff, so you can do a comparison, but I just think it's really complicated here.
Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. So yes, staff can put together information to share with all of council and just, we received correspondence from the Southern Interior Local Government Association yesterday. So they've issued their call for resolutions and call for nominations. So that'll come forward on the January 10th meeting. And at that time, staff will ask for direction from council as to, what resolutions do you want staff to begin working on to bring forward. I think the deadline's in February for that. So we can start looking at this one and share some information and then discuss again in January.
Yeah, the stuff, it looks like the stuff that you sent me this morning, it's good. I think council needs to have a look at it. Sure. Sorry, just Malcolm, Councillor McCabe. No?
Yeah, there
we
was a
go.
box out there. No, I was just gonna sort of say, so, yeah, this would be a resolution that will be run through Sylvan and UBCM sort of thing.
Yeah, correct.
That's all. Yeah, thanks.
But I would like to put this into a portfolio. So I think that perhaps the portfolio owner should be the housing committee.
Like tag, we're it.
Yeah. Does anyone disagree?
Well, I'm fine with that. I can't speak for Councillor Rich, but.
If they just kind of go hand in hand, right? So it should head to that. So Kelly, is that a problem if we make an addition to a portfolio item?
Well, this is research relating to housing. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right. Sorry, who's that? Okay. Anyway, okay, so that takes care of that. Moving on, we are going to go to Mayor and Council reports and our strategic priorities. Councillor Evans, do you want to start?
I spent Monday, November 27th in Kelowna at the Okanagan Regional Library strategic meeting all day. It was a 2-day deal, but I could only go for one. But we have a great new CEO who's doing a fantastic job, Danielle Hubbard, and she really cares about Sicamous. And right now we can't increase library hours unless we raise taxes, but we're lucky to have the library open 4 days a week. And so that went well. And then it was fun chairing the finance committee meeting last week. And we sure have a hardworking council.
You do.
All of you.
Thank you. Councillor Rich.
I just did fun stuff. I went to the chamber dinner, I went to Christmas party, went to parade, went to museum opening, and got the train coming up Friday. So I'm just enjoying some fun stuff this month.
Excellent. Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair. Yeah, been busy. We had a working meeting with Ian, myself, and Nicole and Kelly talking about RVP, RV Resort 1 and 2 for the planning. We also had a planning and development meeting last week or a couple of weeks ago. That went really well. Busy with our finance committee meetings. We've had 2 since our last council meeting. So working on the budget, trying to get that organized. Bianca's doing a great job providing lots of information. Went to the Chamber Business Award, Excellence Awards, which was amazing. Yeah, it was really, it was packed and a lot of nice awards for our businesses, and the vibe there was really upbeat. It was really good. And so that was kind of interesting. Siobhan and I did go. It was all fun. We went to the rec center just to go over for a tour of the rec center, and Siobhan's been putting a group together, and we're going to meet with the managers. And so yeah, that was good. And then District Sicamous Christmas party. That was a great time, and food was great, and yeah, it was a good time. If anybody missed it, it's good. Thanks.
Awesome. Councillor Beach.
Yeah, I did the planning and development meeting on the 6th, and of course the financial meetings everyone did. A lot of time also playing in the community with Santa and food collection and toy collection and face painting, and just for the Christmas hamper program preparation. got a bit more of that ready, to come up with produce, in the next week. Get ready for hampers. And have started working on with, the RCMP a little bit on some dates on public, safety awareness that they are willing to offer the community. And hopefully to find some time to with Siobhan and Lori to get a bit more of an awareness program going. Yeah, I'm hoping that council will endorse that we're doing it. We might need to use the space, and I didn't get that question popped before me. It's just it'll be a public education. So anyways, I'll be talking to all the head bosses around here about that.
Hey.
Okay, just give you a heads up.
Excellent. Cass, are you done? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Pam, are you done? You're done. Cass Bailey.
I went to all those parties too.
Yeah, I went to all the parties, planning and development, meeting with lots of constituents, so thanks.
Good. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I watched the parade. I went to the finance committee meeting and I missed the Christmas party because I was on a plane to Mexico.
Aw, that's so bad.
And poor guy. It's 6 o'clock here right now, or 5:10 to. It'll be a late night by the time I finish our council meeting.
Yep, it will be.
Okay, that's it for
Thanks,
me.
Cass. Thank you. I went to the museum grand opening, grand opening, and I love it. I love the story that they've created now when you walk around the boards. You know, so it's, to me, it just makes more sense as a museum. So it flows, absolutely. So, yeah, and we had a finance committee meeting on the 7th, which Bob chaired and did a great job. Thank you. Covered some, had Wild Safe BC in some it was the operating budget summary for those that are online and missed it. And recreation budget and water and sewer. So some pretty exciting topics on that last finance meeting as well. And today was pretty action-packed as well. So then I headed to the CSRD board meeting. We got a letter from the CSRD, support letter for the Bruin Bridge, which all of you have seen the email. The bridge is now moving forward. And perhaps it was Councillor Bailey's national disgrace. Awesome. But whatever it was, you guys, the fact that we moved on it and because it's important to residents and travelers. They wrote another, they endorsed another letter for zebra and quagga mussels. The allocation of growing funds was brought to the council, and it's confirmed that they have put $500,000 away for the rec center. The approval for the rail trail work to be awarded to Splatson Development Corporation was resolution was brought forward there and approved, and always good news, tipping increases at the dump, which is always a highlight for me. Like, I don't know why. Anyway, that's it. That was it for me. I've been busy. Anyway, so we've got anyone from the, no, not the gallery, anyone online? That has their hand up? Deb does. Okay, go ahead, Deb.
Okay, not just based on the Residential Tenancy Act discussion, I almost hate to mention it, but I've been to arbitration several times, and I've also counseled tenants that were having trouble with landlords as well. So if you guys have, like anything you want to ask me, or, like, just let me know. I'm happy to help.
That would be great. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure we'll be reaching out for sure. Anyone else on there that wants to? Anyone? Okay, recommendation that the District of Sycamore Committee of the Whole meeting for December 13th, 2023 be adjourned at 2:54. Counselor Evans, Counselor Beach, all in favor. We are free for